Hi X203. Today's video is going to be on the master theorem. We have two different recurrences, and we're going to practice finding their complexity. So the first step of any master theorem problem is figuring out what A, B, and D are according to this formula that we have here. And so for part A, we've got T of n equals 6 times T of n over 2 plus 2n. And so we can take a look and we can see that, well, we've got 6 times T of n over 2, which gives us A equals 6 and B equals 2. And then we're adding a term of 2 times n. We don't really care about the 2, since that's just multiplying by a constant. But what we really care about is the exponent of this n. And we know 2n, same thing as 2 times n to the 1. So that's going to give us just d equals 1. Now that we've got a, b, and d, we can figure out which case of the master theorem we're using. And so we're going to calculate, well, what is a over b to the d? In this case, it's 6 over 2 to the 1, which is 3, and that's greater than 1. And so that's going to tell us that we're going to be using this last case of the master theorem, where the last term of our recurrence is the biggest one. So we can see that when we're in this last case, our complexity is O of n to the log base b of a, and then plugging in b and a, we can see that that's O of n to the log base 2 of 6. For part B, we're going to do the same process. And so we're going to see that, well, if we've got 3 times t of n over 4, that's going to give us a equals 3 and b equals 4. And then we're also adding a term of 10 times n to the 5. 10's just a constant, so that doesn't affect our complexity. But we can see since we've got n to the 5, that's going to give us d equals 5. So just like before, we need to figure out what a over b to the d is. And so we're going to have 3 over 4 to the 5 once we plug in a, b, and d. And since that's less than 1, that's going to put us in the first case this time. And so that's the case where our very first term of the recurrence is the biggest one. And so for this case, our complexity is just O of n to the d, which is just O of n to the 5.